What does it mean to you to be a healthy, happy human being? Is our own happiness what matters most, or must we put the happiness of others first? Others that might be suffering in our own family, say, or others less fortunate than ourselves, or others that are being discriminated against? And why is there so much suffering in this world? And what, if anything, can we do to make things better? Is finding the right religion the solution, maybe? Or is religion the problem? Does the answer lie in finding the one true spiritual understanding, or the self-help strategy that's certain to work? Is mindfulness and meditation where it's at, or do we just have to get everyone else to see things as we do? Is having answers to such questions even helpful? This is Sonder Lust with Steve M Nash, offering an uncommon perspective on the human being experience. An invitation for you and I to blame and shame less and to listen more, and to see what comes from doing that. Episode 1, Introduction, the opening one that tells you about Sonder Lust with Steve M Nash. Quote, "Don't spend your precious time asking, why isn't the world a better place? It will only be time wasted. The question to ask is, how can I make it better? To that there is an answer." Leo F. Buscaglia. Let me start then by saying that this podcast is not here to offer easy answers about happiness, suffering, and the problems facing human beings everywhere. Human beings as individuals, human beings belonging to specific groups, and human beings as a species. I no longer seem to be a big fan of easy answers, as it happens. You know, answers that disguise themselves as ideologies, or belief systems, or philosophies, or values. All of these answers are useful and what's needed for at least some of us, at least some of the time. But none of these answers are what's needed for all of us, all of the time. Expressions like tough love and you gotta be cruel to be kind sometimes succinctly sum this up. It is our capacity to find answers, rather than the answers that we find, that matters most, in my humble opinion. Which is a clunky way of saying basic things like socialism isn't always what's needed, and neither is capitalism, but both have their place, wisely implemented. But I really am getting ahead of myself here. This podcast is not here to offer easy answers. Even a not-so-easy answer that I do seem to be a fan of, focusing on what unites us as human beings, isn't always going to be the right approach for every problem we face all of the time. I'm just a fan of this answer right now, as it seems a bit of an antidote to the more unconscious and default narrative of victim-perpetrator, us versus them, and good versus evil. That's so pervasive. In short, no easy answers. We're all to blame here, and we're all a part of the solution too. Solutions that include everyone. For now, I'd like to turn to more mundane matters when it comes to this podcast, and I'll start by explaining where the name Sonder Lust comes from, and what the expression means. Basically, I came across an interesting made-up word, sonder, in 2020, and I liked it so much that it inspired me to make up my own word expression, an expression that rhymes with wanderlust. So here's what these made-up words mean then. Sonder, noun, the realization that each random passerby is living a life as vivid and complex as your own, as coined by John Koenig. Sonder Lust, noun, the desire to share caring, curious, often counterintuitive and occasionally challenging insights into being human, as coined by me, Steve M Nash. As for the made up by somebody else word, insight, noun, the capacity to gain an accurate and deep understanding of someone or something. In short, Sonder Lust is an uncommon perspective on being human that attempts to focus on what unites us rather than on what separates and divides us, for the greater good of all. As for this podcast, well, it attempts to offer difficult questions instead of easy answers, transformation instead of transmission, and a welcome to some antidote to us versus them. Hopefully. We'll see how it goes, eh? And I'll usually include an inspirational quote to illustrate what I'm trying to point to in each episode. Oh, and most of the first 10 episodes of this podcast are scripted. I'm reading words previously written and doing my best to speak of them clearly. A couple of these episodes, however, will be more freestyle than this, and I'll share with you what comes to me in the moment. I've gone for the mostly scripted approach for now because it makes it easier for me to get some episodes out there. If I end up recording more than 10 episodes, then I might go more freestyle with those future episodes. So, who is this for? People tired of playing what I call the blame-shame game, whether it's blaming and shaming others or blaming and shaming yourself. People interested in exploring a better way. People ready to be the change they want to see in the world, to lead by example, to show, not tell. And why did I create the podcast? Well, I have no idea really, other than it seems like a good idea to me to share this uncommon perspective and to see what positive outcomes for all might result from my doing just that. Of course, differences exist, as do prejudices and disadvantages and inequalities, and to completely ignore those differences would seem unkind, to say the least. Still, that being said, it seems obvious to me that human beings are much more alike than we are different, and that might be a good thing for us to notice from time to time. But I might be wrong, and this whole Sonder Lust idea might indeed be as useful as a chocolate teapot. It feels important to me, anyway, and another attempt for me to be the change, another attempt to sing my song. Because, thank you, Maya Angelou, a bird doesn't sing because it has an answer, it sings because it has a song. Before I leave you, here's a little something for you to ponder on during your week, what I'm going to call the Sonder Lust Challenge in the episodes that come. This one's an easy one, I hope. Next time you get a chance to observe a stranger, whether seated in a busy cafe, travelling on the train, or walking in a crowded space, try and imagine some aspect of that stranger's life, how their life might be different to yours, and how it might be similar. Just a tiny detail is all I ask you to imagine. And remember, as they are a stranger to you, you are a stranger to them, and equal in measure in your mysteriousness. You have been listening to Sonder Lust with Steve M Nash, all the way to the end. Thank you. For more about this podcast and to join the Sonder Lust mailing list, please visit stevemnash.com/podcast.